Good morning to you. Maybe afternoon, maybe evening. Good day to you. Thanks for joining this little live stream. I'm going to pull it up on my channel. Give me just a moment so I can make sure that I don't miss any comments or things going on. Okay, cool. All right, so what role does the tongue play? That's right. That's what this is all about today. Talking about the different things the tongue is doing when you're playing harmonica. And where did this idea come from? It came from a comment that I just saw, I believe from a short that I posted, like a remix short that I created. And in that short, I was doing this. And underneath the video, the comment said, do you consider, because it said something like rapid tongue slap, right? And in the video, I wrote the title, Rapid Tongue Slap, and in his comment, he wrote, you consider that fast? And I said, yes, because any faster, and we have a different term for this effect. So I want to start with that as the discussion, like the beginning part of the discussion, but then we could talk about all the different things that your tongue is really doing. So welcome if you're just joining. Let me adjust this real quick. I don't know if that'll help. Okay, so what is a tongue slap? Let's start with this. I got an A harmonica in my hand. What is a tongue slap? The slap really is implying this percussive effect, the interaction between the chord and the single note. So really, it's the most useful thing that you can do. The powerful part of tongue slapping is that effect that you get from the chord first to then the single note that is isolated by placing the tongue over the holes we don't want to play. So a slow tongue slap would be like. It could be gentle or hard, quicker, but as far as how quickly it gets to the cone, right? Or we can go fast. To me, that's about as fast as you can call a tongue slap, because then it kind of turns over into what's called a flutter, which sounds like this. Same exact placement of the tongue, but a very gentle wagging and faster. So you can go much faster, but we don't really call that a slap. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving the video a like today, subscribing. Let's get as many people on this live stream as we can and see if we can have a little party here this morning. So that's one role of the tongue, is the various things it can do in terms of tongue blocking. So we've got octaves and splits. The tongue, anytime your tongue is touching the harmonica comb, you're using some sort of tongue blocking. You're blocking something on the harmonica, right? So with octaves and splits, we're blocking notes in the middle and playing out of the sides. So tongue blocking single notes could be very clean if we didn't take the tongue off. That's tongue blocking. Or most of the time in blues, we're taking it on and off. What else does the tongue do? It does something extremely important that I haven't mentioned at all. Somebody should comment on this video. Comment on this video. What else does the tongue do? I'll tell you. It changes the pitch of the notes that we're playing, which means we can bend by thinking about the position of the tongue. So that's one thing the tongue does while playing the harmonica. That's one of the roles. We can just move it and change the direction of that tongue, lifting it, moving it backwards and forwards, changing the pitch and creating new notes. Ooh, we can go to that ooh, the tongue is more in the up position. So we're bending with the tongue. We're creating nuanced sounds like tongue blocking, these cool things. Slaps and flutters. And octaves and splits. That's what we said so far. Guys like Gary Primich, who took it from Big Walter Horton, were using things like rolling, like rolling your R kind of sound, but without the vocal cords. I never do that ever, but it's a cool kind of thing you can experiment with. Just getting that roll of the tongue going. First position blues, something like that. And another big thing, these are just off the, I'm just off the top of my head. This is a big one though. This is actually, this could make a whole, we could do a whole video. I could do a whole class about this. Legato versus staccato. When we staccato a note, we are separating and giving these notes separation by lifting the tongue down from the top of the mouth. Da 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 da, something like that. We can do it with chords and single notes, but if you don't do that, you've got legato notes, right? Versus staccato. Sometimes legato is better for speed and sometimes staccato is better for speed depending on the sound that you're going for. They're both completely valid. So all of these things that the tongue is doing, if you're not thinking about it, you might not be utilizing the tongue to its fullest advantage, you know? So when you first start learning, a lot of people start with the pucker approach, and that's cool. I did. I think most people do. Not everybody, but most. Hank's here. He's a tongue blocker full-time, so he didn't start that way. Thomas, thanks for jumping into the live stream. Thanks for being a member. By the way, I got a class on Sunday. I just want to mention it since I haven't said it today, but the class is all about fifth position blues. If you've been watching my posts, you know this already. You can find all the details on the home page of harmonica123.com, and you don't need to be present. If you want to catch it as a recording, you will get the recording when it's done and all the notes. We're going to get into that juicy fifth position, that minor blues, and understand a little bit about improvisation, a little bit about some melodies that you can try working on, and we'll go through the scales in the circle of fifths so you really know how to get to the right key harmonica and understand what the notes are that you should be focused on. Hank says he just started puckering. Right on. Okay, cool. So you went the opposite direction. So what else does the tongue do? Those are the biggest things. The staccato is a big one, though. Do-da, do-da, do-da. If you're not using the tongue to separate notes, it's going to be very difficult to get these types of, that phrasing to come out, and you want that. So the in-between would be where you're not really super staccatoed or legatoed like I just played. Those are more staccato, but I'm not using the tongue to create the staccato. I'm just using my breath. A quick note. Right? Those are considered staccato, but the tonguing of it, the da-da-da-da-da-da, I'm sure there's more, but I think the point of this video today is to get you to start thinking about all the roles that the tongue has. What are you actually using when you're playing to create new sounds, and what is the tongue doing to help you create it? So the first, I think honestly, the first one to self-discover or to play around with is the staccato, because all of us as pucker or tongue blockers, there's A harp, need to be able to separate a note. Da, da, da. Just letting the tongue bounce off the roof of the mouth. But the tongue is a great place. The next step, bringing the tongue into tongue blocking, was the next logical thing that I would be thinking about. I can tell you this. If you're currently, let's see it in the comments. How many people are 100% pucker players? Go ahead, just type it in. And write tongue block if you happen to be full-time tongue blocker. Write hybrid maybe if you are a hybrid player. There's a cool webinar going on with Joe Falisco and Carlos Del Junco on Saturday, the day before my class. It's less instructional and more a discussion about the advantages and maybe disadvantages potentially between puckering and tongue blocking. I can tell you now that if I were a part of that teaching, I'd be like, you need both. And I know that there's the majority of people would say the same, that they want both of these attacks. But there's plenty of very traditional players that are all tongue block, and they live and die and swear that that's the only way to get it and that's the way to do it if you're a blues harp player. There's all pucker players that are very good, and then there's the hybrid players. And I think the hybrid players, we are the majority, really. Why would you want, here, just quickly, why, I'm going to give you my case for why you might want to consider becoming a hybrid player if you're really in one camp or the other. You primarily 85% are one or the other, tongue blocker or pucker. The reason you want to incorporate a more even mix is because then your sound becomes very balanced. That's my response when people say, well, why do you even pucker? I love the sound of puckering. I can get a big full sound puckering. I can get a big full sound tongue blocking, but I can't get the speed and some of the nuanced stuff from puckering like I can from tongue blocking that I can puckering, like this. Good luck being a tongue block player playing that. I'd love to hear you do something like... It's not going to come out the same. Even though there are some really fast tongue blockers, it doesn't come out the same. So your tongue is a really important part of playing. The biggest thing is staccato, then bending, and then thinking about tongue blocking techniques that require the tongue to make contact with the comb. It's really important to consider all of it. Hank says, sometimes I don't even know what my tongue does. Well, you know, try to have some awareness when you play, because when you are really aware of what it's doing, you can really start to fine tune even further the sound that it's creating. So Steve, I think Steve's comment about saying sometimes octaves. So I think that that's the majority of players. I think that the vast majority of us that are playing harmonica, whether we're enthusiasts or more professional players, is that we're playing with octaves as our tongue blocking, octaves and splits, and the rest is puckered. And that's how most pucker players get into tongue blocking. They start playing these octaves. And that's awesome. But what about the texture of that? Slap to flutter. You can't get that any other way. So if there's one thing that I'm a stickler on, and I tell people it's non-negotiable, you've got to get your tongue on the harmonica, it's for that traditional sound that is found in blues. So I'm of the camp that you must have some tongue blocking going on to some degree when you're playing blues harp. You know, octaves and splits are great, but I'm talking one step more than that in the single note category. And you will be blown away as to what that does to your playing. Opens up so many different sounds that you couldn't have gotten. I think I'm going to buy a ticket to the webinar. I don't know where to direct y'all, but if I find out, which I probably will, because I think I'd like to check that out, I will post some information on it. I'll post info on my 5th position class. I'd love for you guys to check that out too. Pete says he's got a cow's tongue and he can't tongue block single notes. I bet you could, man. I bet you could. I've got a huge kind of thick tongue, I feel like too, but something to consider, Pete, is that when you're tongue blocking, maybe you'll have some limitations, but it's this part of the tongue that's making contact most of the time for single notes. And really, it's not the whole extent of the front of the tongue, the top of the tongue here. It's actually the side top. It's kind of the side meeting this side of the tongue. It's like the tongue is slightly curved, and we're kind of focused on if we are tongue blocking to the left and getting a note out of the right side of your mouth, you have a slight tilt, and it feels like if I were to draw a line, it's really like right here of the tongue that's making a connection, covering. So don't go too straight. You'll get all this fuzz. You'll be like, it doesn't work. It takes time to get used to tongue blocking, but once it clicks, it's so worth it. So I hope you guys will consider all the various roles of the tongue and get a little deeper into it. I've got wonderful classes on tongue blocking. I'll actually pin some of those in the description. I've got a class called Tongue Blocking Techniques where I go through all the stuff that you would want to know about. Maybe I'll do a sale on that if you're interested in checking it out. Good morning to everybody tuning in the chat. Thanks for being here. Tongue full time, but I can't do vibrato. Okay, that's an interesting observation. And I don't think there'd be any downside to going to a pucker if you wanted to for your vibrato. Hybrid player says Pete, block the chords and octaves only. Okay. Barely got my tongue to roll on the roof of my mouth. Thought I was bending, but I wasn't. I'm starting out fresh. Okay. Yeah, go slowly. Build this technique up really slowly. If you get your tongue on and you can get one note, and you can do that, you're in great shape. You can build a lot off of that. Yeah, Steve, puckering seems easier. It seems easier because maybe you started with it, but I would say that they're both very accessible. And maybe you're right. Maybe it is a little bit more approachable to pucker, but I know a lot of pucker players that are having issues with their tone and with bending. But I will say the vast majority of people that are really struggling with bending that I come across, that come to me from other places, other teachers, they were told to tongue block those bends, and once they let go of that notion, they were making higher level. They were able to create higher level music because they're now using puckering to bend, and it's working. I'm not bashing either approach, though. Hey, Charlie, good morning. Thanks for being a member and tuning in today. Tuning in from Eldora. All right. Bad Company from New Mexico. Thanks for tuning in. The taco tongue to single out. That's called tongue curling. This thing. Yeah, it's not as common, but there are a couple folks that do that. Right on. Yeah, people with thick fingers also play guitar. That's right. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's what it comes down to. I am using currently a Marine Band Deluxe, which is my favorite harmonica on the planet. Thanks, JNL. Can't seem to get any bends while tongue blocking. You're not alone, which is why I was just saying what I said earlier about a lot of people that get stuck with bending and tongue blocking end up trying to pucker. I do think it's worth working on, though. I work on it, but I don't use it when I play. But I think it's worth kind of exploring and trying to use a little bit of, trying to engage in some of it just for practice. I find the higher keys much more challenging to bend while tongue blocked, though. So yeah, get into it. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything else. Those are the big ones I want to point out. There's other things that the tongue is doing, right? Like, here's one more random one. I just thought of this. Here's a really cool sound. The tongue is playing a role in that. It's bending, but it's not just bending. It's creating a vibrato, a tongue pump vibrato is what I always call it. Tongue pump. So there's an A harp on hole 2. You just kind of like let the tongue kind of go right way in the back, and once it gets going kind of involuntarily, you'll get it to go. You want to aim for like these lower bends, they tend to work better on. Whereas a traditional throat vibrato sounds better on the closer to the draw and half steps. The tongue pump works better on those driven down bends, like a 4/2 step, because that's as far as it goes, or like a 2 full step or 2 full to half area. That's what I got today. Thanks for tuning in. I really hope some of you will come out to class on Sunday exploring 5th position. It is by far my new favorite position to play. I feel like a kid in a candy store. Like it's all brand new and I'm starting over, but it's so easy and logical. Yes, I've got experience that I'm bringing into the position, knowledge from other positions and pattern recognition that I have and muscle memory and all these things that are helping me. But I'm telling you right now, if you're playing third in it, you find it very challenging, add fifth into the mix. Fifth is easier. Listen to the scale difference. Listen to third position on the bottom. You got 3 bends to contend with on 2 different holes. That's third. Here's fifth. Much easier. Only 2 bends, and they're all in the same hole. So from a fluidity standpoint, or a beginner that wanted to play minor songs, I actually, now that I'm playing fifth, I would direct them to fifth and third. The thing about it is this, the last thing. There's so much more available in recordings in third position. That's what everyone recorded in. I found only 2 recordings in fifth position. One of them was from like the 20s. What's that guy's name? I'll tell you in just a second. His last name is McCoy. And the other one is, well, just let me pull it up. Here we go. So there's 2 things. Sammy Lewis, Somebody Stole My Heart, and that was recorded in the 70s, though. And Central Track Blues, William McCoy. That's it. There's more recent recordings in fifth, but not older stuff. So we'll listen to those for inspiration, grab 1 or 2 ideas, and then we're going to get into talking about improvisation and melodies. I want to show you how you can easily start moving around and make ideas in fifth. I think it's going to be a blast. I can't wait. U-blocking, thank you. Charlie, that's a better term, U-blocking. Or tongue curling, some people say, but U-blocking. I should have said that. I'm glad I caught that. The taco tongue is definitely called U-blocking. I can do it, but I don't know how to play harmonica that way. I can't imagine how you guys do that. All right. I hope to see you on Sunday. Thanks for being here and tuning in. Thanks for subscribing and liking this video. And thanks for all the folks who have checked out my Harmonica 123 membership or my YouTube membership. I really appreciate you guys. I'll put all this info in the description if you want to go deeper. I'll put the tongue blocking classes on sale that I mentioned, 1 or 2. There's more than one. One of them is really advanced with James Conway. It's called Beyond Tongue Blocking 101. And it's like crazy what he goes into. Then there's my class. So I'll figure it out. I'll put all this in the video description. Y'all make it a great day. Hey, what's up? Jaime, good to see you, man. Appreciate y'all. Make it a great day. See you soon.